Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we've been talking about estate planning. You know, one of the things in my book, this Chapter 7, is on estate planning. So take advantage of, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll make it real easy for you. If you call my office, the number is 615-376-5325. Call the office. We'll do up a comprehensive financial plan. But part of that includes estate planning. So there we can bring Russ in, and guess what? He's not going to charge you his normal consultation fee. So big plus. Come in, see us. I can get Russ in to come over and meet with you as well to talk about your estate planning, help with that process, talk to you about the different options available to you, maybe review your current estate plan. I've been talking, we're going to get into here shortly, in fact, about the Secure Act and the effect there. Might be a great opportunity for you to review your current plan, have Russ look it over and give you some recommendations on how to, in fact, make sure your original wishes are still going to be able to be met and that your planning is still going to work. So again, 615-376-5325, estate planning being one piece. We're going to do a comprehensive plan for you, investment analysis, talk to you about Social Security, how to minimize taxes in retirement, including on your Social Security benefits, Medicare, healthcare costs in retirement, how to manage the risks there, when the best time to take Social Security. Of course, the investment analysis will look at your current investments, help you see what risks might be there. The market's been doing surprisingly well. The concern being that we are overdue, of course, for a bear market, number one. Number two, there's and some things going on right now. The stimulus that we've had, there's been some moves there, in particular with the stimulus, I think, that have helped the markets and helped boost them, but that's a sugar high. That's not going to last forever, and we're going to see then the effects of what's really going on in the economy, and in particular with jobs. Now, we had a good jobs report today and this week, so unemployment claims were lower, which was a big plus, and we had some jobs added, another big plus, but we need a lot more for us to have a good solid foundation there. And understand, if you're losing job, you're losing tax dollars, you're losing revenue. It affects the businesses, of course. That means they're making less, and if they're making less, guess what? That's right, the stocks and bonds, those mutual funds that we're investing in our retirement accounts, they're not going to be making as much, and in fact could go in the opposite direction. We could see losses there. So how to protect against that, understanding these risks, and we have strategies to manage those risks to help you hedge against market downturns and to protect yourself at the same time. All of that, 615-376-5325. Just call the office. We get your information, send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me. We're going to look at, of course, your income, expenses, assets, liabilities. We're going to factor in for you inflation, taxes, rates of return on your money. We'll help you determine what the needed rate of return is. It's a very comprehensive plan at no cost. Great way for us to get to know each other and see if we want to continue that relationship down the road. So again, 615-376-5325. There's the number on your screen. And when you come in to see me, I'll also give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. And speaking of the book, there's a checklist, or estate planning checklist I put in there that's kind of fun. So I'm going to just rattle off some of these and get Russ to jump in on a couple of those. So first thing you want to ask, of course, do you have a will or a trust? One or the other. And when's the last time that you looked at those? A lot of times people will get Russ talking about, very good about, if you will, and diligent about making sure that the trusts are funded. A lot of times people get a trust maybe from some years ago, they throw it in a drawer and they never did anything with it. They're still going to be subject to probate. They're still going to have additional costs that could have been avoided had they had that properly taken care of. So this might be a good opportunity to take a look and see, in fact, if that's done. Do you have life insurance? Is your insurance in an ILET? Russ, you can talk a little bit about the advantages of an irrevocable life insurance trust when it comes to holding life insurance.
The life insurance death benefit is an asset of your estate if you own the policy when you pass. So the idea there is, if your estate is growing to the point where it may exceed your exemption. Now in Tennessee, we don't have an inheritance tax. We don't have to worry about a Tennessee estate tax exemption. But there is a federal estate tax that can apply at the time of death. It's a 40% flat rate on every asset that's subject to that tax. And although we have currently a large exemption against it, meaning that you can pass up to $11,700,000 free of estate tax, that exemption is going down in 2026 to roughly about $6 million. So what we found is that a lot of clients have built up worth in life insurance. If you go out and buy a $2, $3, $4 million policy and you pass away and you're the owner of that policy, then that death benefit is going to be added to the rest of your assets. And if that pushes you over the upcoming $6 million, then you can run into an estate tax problem. So what we do is we create what's called an irrevocable insurance trust to own the policy, not you. Because during your life, you really don't need access to the policy, as far as cash value and things like that. Most clients don't. So it's better to get it out of your estate while you're living, transfer it to this irrevocable insurance trust, and then when you pass, the trust receives the death proceeds income tax-free and estate tax-free, because it's not part of your estate. You don't own the policy. And then that trust can then benefit your beneficiaries. That could be your spouse, your kids, or a combination of both. And it will be out of their estate as well when they pass. So it's a great tool to make sure that you're not increasing inadvertently the size of your estate and causing a portion of that death benefit to be subject to that 40% tax.
Exactly, and there's some other strategies that can be used. That being one, of course, to pay tax, estate taxes if you would need that, or you can also leverage your estate with life insurance. In other words, you're typically going to pay less for the insurance than the amount of the death benefit that's going to pay to your beneficiaries. And when it comes to some of the things we're going to get into, for instance, with the Secure Act, this can be another strategy that can be helpful in terms of wealth replacement, and it can be used in conjunction with another one. So let's say, for instance, if you wanted to, if you had maybe some charities that you wanted to support, maybe your church or some other private charities that you want to support, or public charities that you want to support, I should say. If you want to do that, you can sometimes put all of this together. You can take money that's coming out of an IRA, for instance. You might look at your IRA as far as what your overall goals with that might be, what the tax implications are going to be, maybe set up what's called a charitable remainder trust. And Russ, let's talk about that strategy where if someone wanted to take a retirement account as an example, monies that are going to be fully taxed, and they wanted over time, maybe they can take some money out, use that to pay premium on life insurance, so they're leveraging back up, and there's the money that they're taking out being replaced, so wealth replacement, and at the same time getting some tax advantages that might help offset those distributions.
The charitable remainder trust is a trust in which you create the document saying that during your life you're going to get either a percentage of the value of the assets determined each year or a set dollar amount each year from the trust. When you put your assets into the trust, typically we set it up so that that is a charitable deduction. So you get a charitable deduction up front, and then you get an income stream from that trust each year during your life. And then when you pass, whatever's remaining goes to charity. The benefit of that trust, especially when it's dealing with, let's say, retirement accounts, is that when you put the retirement account into the trust, that's a non-tax transfer, meaning no one pays income tax on it because the charitable trust is a charity in essence when it's set up. And then you can still take an income stream out. Now, you'll pay income tax on what you take out, but the point being is that it can allow you to structure how you take your benefits out in any manner you see fit. So you're not subject to trying to do RMDs and all that other stuff, because that basically terminates the IRA. You take out as much as you need based on your calculations of how much you want to take out each year, and then you use whatever amount you're not using for your current consumption for the payment of an insurance policy to cover what the charity is getting from that account. And again, I can't stress enough, the retirement accounts that we create are really for our benefit during our life. whenever we're trying to transition those accounts intact to our kids, there are all these rules and issues and tax liabilities that go along with it, because the government's trying to say, spend this money while you're living, don't necessarily use it as an inheritance tool to your kids. So it's always good to kind of go in that direction and say, how can I convert this to an asset that I can let my kids inherit, in this structure of creating a trust that then pays it out to you and you use the money to pay for life insurance, is one way of doing that.
And so basically with the life insurance now, let's say you had a $500,000 in an IRA that you put in as an example, and you buy a $500,000 life insurance policy, and you use some of the income coming out of the CRT to pay the premiums on the life insurance policy. Basically what you've done is you've been able to, through that process, and you know, hopefully this has a lot to do with certain charities and that you want to benefit as well, but what you've done is you've taken a $500,000 fully taxable asset that your children would receive and turned it into a tax-free asset, and that not just for income taxes but also with regard to estate tax. So you've moved it out of your estate at the same time. So it can be a good tool for, definitely worth looking at. Again, one of the more advanced strategies. One of the other, you know, as we go down through the question things, making sure you have durable medical power of attorney. You know, we talk about on the asset piece, have power of attorney for assets to help manage monies as needed, and the benefits of a trust maybe for that as well. But now with a medical power of attorney, think in terms of, you know, if you remember a long time ago, Terry Schiavo's case down in Florida, and this was a tragic situation where they didn't have these documents done and ended up in a lengthy, over many years, court battle with lots of money being wasted just to try to determine how to handle her situation and what her wishes might have been. So it's a great opportunity to make sure that your wishes are in fact known and that they're going to be followed up on and taken care of. And one of those being, Russ, you know, people worrying about having their death prolonged, not so much, you know, once you've, where these come in mainly into play, of course you know, at least one of the areas is when people are concerned, they're in a coma, they're not able, you know, what's going to happen? Are they going to keep me alive by machines? Most people don't want that, but whatever your wishes are, you want them to be known and taken care of in that event. Hopefully unlikely event, but in that event. And then there are other things that we get into with regard to nursing homes, long-term care issues, if you become incapacitated, if you know, God forbid, but, you know, guy, you're in a coma, you have a stroke, any of the kind of things that could cause you to not be able to take care of things for yourself or make choices for yourself, you make those choices now, and you have designated people to follow up on those. I was going to give you an opportunity to jump on that, Russ, but I got to take a break first. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.